Hello guys, Atlantic Renewables again, as we try various different types of content. Today we're going to be doing a frequently asked questions video. So this is where we answer questions that we see a lot in our design process. I'm Jack Atherton, Associate Director and Design Engineer at Atlantic Renewables.
I'm Billy Wright, also Associate Director and in the engineering team with Jack.
So today we're going to be doing a lot of the front-end questions, the frequently asked questions that we see as people come to us looking to start their project, and the person they're naturally talking to at that point is Billy. Billy, well, I'll kick us off. I'll ask the first frequently asked question. What roofs can I have solar on?
Well, it's a big question, and essentially any roof can have solar on, but it comes down to how cost-effective it's going to be. When we actually start looking at how many panels can fit, cable routes, the structure and things like that. The panels are, as you know, rectangle shaped, about 1.7 metres by 1.1 metres roughly, depending on the brand. So we need to make sure that a decent size array can fit and it's actually going to have a yield for the customer and a payback. So, for example, rectangle roofs are nice because the panels are also rectangular. And also things like the actual condition of that roof. So we've got lots of inquiries through over the years that we've looked at the roof and gone, that is needing re-roofing right now. These panels have 25-year warranties. They last, I would imagine, 30, 40, 50 years. So we want to walk away from a project knowing that we're not going to have to go on that roof and touch it ever again. There's different roof types across the UK. You've got your traditional sort of concrete tiles. That's the most cost-effective way. Very quick to install. They're very strong as well, so you can sort of walk on that roof no problem. As an installer, you don't have to be careful with how you distribute your weight or anything. So that's the most cost-effective roof, concrete. You've got clay tiles as well. A little bit more work involved to absorb the pressure of the hooks, foam pads and things like that. But that's also possible, and we do them probably 5-10% of the time. More complex roofs you've got slate. So a lot more work involved, a lot more labour to do it properly, have it all watertight, and that's due to how thin slates are in comparison to the concrete tiles.
I think that's where a lot of this question comes from, is because we're typically one of 3 or 4 that people are getting quotes from, and they'll hear from a larger provider, maybe Octopus, that they can't have them on the roof, or Octopus aren't interested in installing on that roof. It doesn't mean you can't have them, it just means that that person or that company doesn't use the techniques to install on that roof type, whereas we cover all the bases. We've done pretty much every roof type. So,
pretty much every single time,
So that's one of the key things in why other companies might say you may not have it or it may not be cost effective in the past. We always say, get a quote from us, let's talk about it, let's look at the photos, and we can validate whether that's actually real, because a lot of companies have their first pass. If it's slate, we just don't do it. So
absolutely. So at the start, it's a feasibility assessment on the property. If we look at the property and there's all the roofs are small triangles and rhombus shapes and there's chimneys and flues everywhere, how many panels are going to fit? Probably not many. It could be a mansion, but if there's no clear space for the panels, then we'll look into that.
And that then leads into another conversation of what is actually the scope of the project, what you're trying to achieve. But again, that kind of goes beyond this initial frequently asked question here.
Absolutely,
I'll take the second one then. So the second one is there VAT? So currently there's 0% VAT on all solar and battery installs.
That's correct.
EV charge points are omitted from that. However, if you have them installed with a solar array, you can get them lumped in for the 0%. So I believe you were saying the key date is 2027 when it finishes?
Yeah, so with domestic solar, that used to be 5%, and it always had been until March, April, the change of the financial year 2022, and then it was 0%, and that was for 5 years. So currently we're sat in it's February 2026, we've still got time, but it's in effect until 2027, the change of the financial year. So whether that gets extended, I would imagine it will. You'd like to think so.
Let's not predict political wins.
No, of course not. But yeah, that as of now, and then also the batteries as of February 2024, they became 0% as well, which is great. Domestic, commercial is still your 20% though.
Fair enough. So. Do you want to ask me the next question then?
Yeah. Can you install solar panels on your own? Do it yourself?
So this is a key one we get a lot. Can I do it myself? Small scale projects where you're not planning on feeding it back to the grid and you are just charging a little battery that maybe you're putting in your greenhouse, then yeah, sure, you can do it yourself. If you are connecting it to your house, if you're connecting it to the main, inherently to the mains from that point, probably not. Unless you're qualified electrician, qualified NCS certified installer, It's not something you can do. Yeah, exactly.
Like
so things like the export payments that you get when you generate surplus solar energy for your house. You can't get export payments for that if you don't have an MCS certificate and a G99 or G98 certificate. Again, both of these are things you need to be approved installers for. So the reality is you may see people putting solar panels on the house themselves, but they aren't getting the maximum out of their system, and who knows to what quality they're installing it. You know, you are, after all, basically drilling into your roof and roof structure and things like that. You know, so if done properly, it can be perfectly safe. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can damage your roof. Then you have water leaks. Then you have cascade failures of different, you know, all sorts of DIY problems and headaches. So
it can end up costing you more in the long term if you install it incorrectly on your own, whether that be on the roof or with the electrics.
Yeah,
it can cause big problems, leaks, electrical faults, all sorts. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So can I do it myself? Sure you can, but you probably shouldn't, and it gets someone professional to do it, and that way you get the best system and the best payback. So the next question I've got down here, Bill, what do the different types of warranty mean?
Yeah, so it's a big question, definitely early on. You get lots of warranties for different things thrown at you. The main one is the actual workmanship warranty from the installer. So that's a third party, typically insured, backed warranty. Whether that be 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, depends on the installation company. But that means that it's a bit of a peace of mind for the customer, and that's on the workmanship itself. So the screws going into the rafters, the actual electrical work on the board, the actual install itself. So if there's an issue with that, you're covered. The installer will go back, and it's third party guaranteed. So if that company went bust in a year or two after the installing, you're covered as well for the time period of that warranty. But that's different, and that causes confusion to the actual products. So all the different products that we fit have different product warranties on each. So the panels, typically 25 years. The inverter, 5 to 10, sometimes 12 years, depending on the brand. You've got your optimizers, they can go up to 25 years, batteries 10 years, things like that. So each product has a different type of warranty, and that's with the product and the manufacturer itself. So nothing to do with the installer. So for example,
but we will help if we believe it's a manufacturer warranty issue.
We'll get involved. But it's if that. So for example, if we fit a Tesla Powerwall 3, and within 6 months it completely dies and there's faults, that is with Tesla. So Tesla, in that period of the warranty, will replace that. But the warranty doesn't cover the workmanship and the labour of swapping it though. So that's separate. You have to pay for an electrician or an installer to come and swap that out, because it's not our fault that a piece of kit manufactured whenever it was manufactured failed. So that's a different thing. But the product warranty covers just the product, not
the only other one that I see thrown a spanner in the works is also performance guarantee, and that's that's panel specific. So panels will degrade at their maximum output across a lifetime. Initially a little 1% drop in the first year, and then it's sort of a linear model down to 30 years now. Again, depending on which panel you're used, depending on the end figure, but typically it's around 85-88% after 30 years. That means the panel is producing 88% of its original value. So that say we're using ACO 480s at the moment, after I've got to do some quick math, I won't. 88% of 480 will be still generated by the panel at the end of 30 years. So that's essentially what the performance guarantee is. So again, if you suspect that the panels are significantly underperforming across the time and they haven't failed, then again that's another length. But again, having never done any kind of claim against that sort of performance guarantee,
we're getting stuck thousands of panels.
It's all theory, and you can read the warranty on that, but it's not something we've engaged with on that level.
Never with the panel, no. So there's no moving parts with the panel. It's I won't get into the chemistry of it, but it's like an engine with you don't need to lubricate it, you don't need to maintain it like that. So interesting.
The next question then, you've done a bit of talking, I'll probably do this one. Number 5?
Yeah, number 5. What should I think about when I'm sort of planning solar in the early stages?
Yeah, so hopefully you come to us and you haven't already taken your roof off. You aren't asking for solar panels tomorrow. So planning ahead is great. What we should be looking at is kind of the ideal conditions for it. Now, you touched on it in one of the previous answers. You know, ideally we'd have walking up to a concrete roof tile roof. Ideally it'd be a rectangle. Ideally it'd be quite large, so you can get a fair amount of panels on.
Panels,
and ideally south facing. The reason south facing is important because that's the sort of optimum inclination at our point on the planet. As the sun moves across the sky, that arch changes across time of year, and so actually south facing is the optimum for across the whole year. So there's a bit of nuance in there in terms of east-west roofs aren't written off, because in certain times of year, east performing will do great in the mornings, west performing will do great in the evenings, because naturally the sun is in different places at the same time of day. So again, a lot of nuance in that one, but the average best orientation is south in the UK, and the average best pitch of roof is 33 degrees.
Yep.
Again, that changes a little bit if you're in Portsmouth, if you're at sort of Scotland ends, but not by much. And so that roof pitch is the sort of angle which the panel's inclined. Again, that factors in the location of the sun and the sky across the full year spectrum. So again, if you're considering it and you go out in your garden and it's winter and you look out and you see actually there's a lot of shadows cast from fairly close low trees, that might not be all that much of a problem in the summer, because the sun is naturally higher. It goes up to 60 degrees at peak in the summer, and it's down to a low of 15 degrees angle in the sky when you're in the winter. So that change in pitch is key to consider. So that's roof orientation, that's roof pitch. Now, again, the element of it is, when do I use energy? So you're using the energy that the panels produce is key to the payback. So if you don't use it, you export it to the grid. And I personally am on Octopus Outgoing at the moment. Yeah, I get 12p per kilowatt hour. They charge me 26 for the same kilowatt hour during the day. You can get cheaper rates overnight as well, so your tariffs do factor that in. But focusing solely on the solar design, really you want to be focusing on the appliances in my house. How can I move these to the daylight hours? So that's kind of making the most of the usage of the panels, because primarily you want to use it as it's coming out, store it as a second resort, and sell it as a last resort. Yep. So those are the things we look for. Trying to think of anything else. Again, planning solar. Are we going on a roof where there's a lower, like a conservatory or anything below it that we need to scaffold over?
Yeah, that can have a big impact on how feasible it is. Yeah. Is it 3 stories? Is there a big glass conservatory to bridge over?
Yeah, exactly. Bungalows are great for that. The ideal would be a big rectangle, concrete tile, south-facing bungalow. Yeah. If you're that person, give us a call. But apart from that, we can make good solar projects out of other things. Anything to add on my answer there?
I would say things like, you touched on the shading. Is there a big oak tree in the garden that's looming over? Can that be reduced before we do the installation? Things like that to think about. Even your neighbours' properties as well. Sometimes we've done installs where the next door neighbour's house is actually a lot taller, either to the left or the right. So that could shade Veluxes as well. Are they going to? That's taking up some space on that roof for the array.
And with the shading, we can model these buildings in our reports.
We can.
So again, if you are concerned, we can do a report. We can model it, and we can look at it models the sun's movement in the sky. So again, we can account for that. That does have predictable detriments on the system performance, but again, it's not something that wipes a project out of feasibility.
No. And I'd probably say the last thing to think about is always a little bit more on the installer to identify, but where in the property do you think is suitable for an inverter or a battery system? Have you got an attached garage? Have you got a utility room? Would you like it installed outside as well? If some of our customers, they just don't want it in the house, that's something we look at in the initial stages. But I mean, you do a lot of surveys. That's a big part of that survey. Where's this kit going to go, and things like that. So things to think about. But
we'll hold your hand. We talk everyone through it. Next question then. I might take this one as well.
Yeah, fine.
Surely the panels cost more in energy to manufacture than they save. This is a bit of an industry myth now. I think it's been fairly disproved over and over again. We could do a whole video on this, but basically, no. The panels vastly outproduce the energy required to manufacture them. They also vastly pay themselves off, I think 20 times over, something like that, with the energy saved. That's at current grid levels of carbon intensity. So obviously, as the grid naturally decarbonises, the power that you're getting, the carbon value of that power you're getting will get lower in terms of carbon debt. So as more solar, as more wind gets built on the grid, then that's why this whole thing gets more complicated. But basically, compared to actively burning coal and fossil fuels, which will never pay itself off in carbon effectiveness, it's a bit like this is kind of a null and void question. It's kind of been disproved now. So
there's so many variables to think about. Like, what orientation does that panel face? Things like, is there shading on it? It's just like, it's an impossible question to answer like 100%. But, as you say,
I mean,
I agree.
Solar panels are made of silicon, the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust, and glass. Again, that's another form of silicon. An aluminium frame. So maybe that's not great, but you can always change the aluminium frame. And then there is they've moved from silver to copper in the eco models. Silver is still, so that's precious metal still being used, but again, it's not toxic. Processing of it may be partially toxic, but overall, it more than pays itself off in terms of carbon effectiveness.
And the recycling of them as well is becoming an industry in itself over the next couple of years, I would imagine. But again, that's probably a video for another time. But
exactly. It's a whole other thing.
That's getting
interesting though.
Very interesting.
I'll ask you the next question then. Should I get a battery or no battery?
Yeah, again, another big question at the early stage when customers, they just don't know which way to go. Typically, we look at the feasibility of the solar, but then the batteries step in as well. And the batteries, of course, are much more expensive sometimes, depending on the brand, of course. But a lot of things we look at is what do you want to do with this system, and it's really launching an investigation into that individual property. What the customer needs is going to be different to what their next door neighbour needs, and then the house opposite, and then the house opposite. Everyone uses electricity at different times and in different amounts. So if, for example, we've done lots of installs for customers that are retired, or I mean, you did a survey yesterday. The customers work from home. Everybody's in the house during the day. So when that solar's producing on the roof, it's all going to be eaten up by the property. So is there going to be any to store? Probably little. But on the other hand, we've got customers that we did install them just before Christmas. There were 2 primary school teachers and they had children in school as well. So their house from like 8 to 4, no one was there except the dog, and he's not using electricity much. So they needed to store it. Everyone is different, and it's just it comes down to again your budget, but what's going to be most cost effective for your exact
the way customers can help us is by getting their half-hourly data. So a comma separated variable file, 17,560 entries. That's 48 times 365. And so we take that, we can plug that into our software, and we can tell you, we can map how you use your energy across the day against what we predict it will produce, and therefore we can really tailor the reports to the projects. So that's another way that customers can help us, and that's how we can get you the best, most accurate data. We're running a bit out of time, Bill. Have we got anything more on this one?
I would say as well with the batteries, there's the added benefit of, especially in the winter, charging the battery from the grid overnight. Of course, if you didn't have the battery, you couldn't do that. So anything that's surplus,
as I'm feeling right now, because I got
my
inverter in the end, so I'm just watching it all sail out to the grid. So
as you say, if you had the battery, you'd keep it and use it later on in the day, which is great. And a lot of our customers, they go onto these overnight tariffs, and especially in the winter when the sun's out a lot less, they fill that battery with really cheap electricity and turn the house into like a mini substation sort of thing, and that reduces the bills a lot as well. So it's, what do you want to do with the project, but that's what we're here to do.
And again, project cost is the other key factor.
And the cost, of course.
Batteries are expensive, so
what size do you need?
You've got to
what brand?
Again, we go through all that in part of our sales process.
That's our job. We take care of that.
So we've got a big list of frequently asked questions, but we have actually run out of time today. So we will do another one of these videos. Again, if you have any more questions that you actually be interested in as well, either comment below or get in touch with us and we can put them in the video. Cheers for your time today, Bill.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for watching.